There's actually 9 key systems in the RM5 formula. And these are all fundamental systems to just running a business and running all the marketing in a business. This isn't anything that's like super secret sauce or, some sort of, hack or anything like that. This is literally just doing the fundamentals of digital marketing at a super high level. So this way you maximize your return on your ad spend, not just right away, but over the lifetime of having that customer.
Josh, I'm excited to have you on the podcast. This is the Growth House Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Ray. Josh, how you doing?
Doing good, man.
So I'm very excited because we get to dive into some e-commerce. This is something, like I said, off camera that I haven't really, dove too much into since I'm more of the real estate startup founder, VC. Before we get into all that, I just want the people to understand who you are. If you're in the e-commerce space, you probably know this guy. He's about to take his company public. You're an international best-selling author, serial entrepreneur, owner of ARM5 Formula. And what I really liked was that you actually partnered with one of my favorite podcasters, Mr. JLD out there in Puerto Rico,
Yep.
EO Entrepreneurs on Fire. And from your website, you've said that your target is to achieve 2 to 3 $100 million exits by the end of 2029.
Yep.
So I got to ask, where are you in that process? And did I miss anything?
Yeah, it's a pretty bold goal. So that goal is definitely evolving right now because one thing that we never envisioned for ourselves as a company is we never envisioned going public. We wanted to stay a private company and we wanted to just buy businesses, scale them up using our ARM5 formula, and then roll them up and package them and go sell them to the highest bidder. But now that we have this opportunity to take the business public, which just opened up literally a few months ago, and we're in the midst of, we'll probably have a very similar goal, but it's probably going to be a bigger goal. So where we're at in the process is, I'd say we're still early in the journey. We've got 7 companies. We've got 2 companies we're buying here in the next few months. One of them is actually Entrepreneurs on Fire. We haven't partnered up just yet with John Lee Dumas, but we're excited to do that. We've been working on that for quite some time. We've got another company though that's going to literally double our business overnight. Once we finalize this acquisition. And I'm actually just coming off of a really big meeting yesterday to move that process down the line so this way we can get closer and closer to getting this thing wrapped up. So massive progress over the last 24 hours on that, which is awesome. So right now we're in the process of raising capital. We have a pre-money $2 million valuation, or I'm sorry, $20 million valuation. It's a big
I was going to say $2 million sounds low with all that you got going on.
Yeah, 20 million is what I meant to say. And we're once we finish this current domino, which is raising the 2 million, and we have 750,000 left to go. So once we finish that, then we'll be able to finalize a few acquisitions that will boost our value very quickly, as you can imagine. And we'll be able to actually get additional capital because we'll be recognized as a soon-to-be public company. And so there's a few capital resources that are already set up throughout this entire process that our consultant has set up for us because he's done this many, many times over. And then once we have that, then we can go out and buy an additional acquisition or 2. We're basically just pushing hard right now to get to the NASDAQ in about 6 to 8 months or less and uplist at least at a $45 million valuation. So this way we can literally double our business between now and the time that we uplist to the NASDAQ. We might even be able to do more than that, but I don't want to, put that out there. But there's been talks between Chris, the consultant that's working with us and helping us go public. There's been talks between us that we could possibly even get up to like a $90 million valuation on the NASDAQ. So no promises, can't guarantee anything, definitely don't want to do that to the audience here, but it is an exciting opportunity either way.
That's amazing. And you mentioned this opportunity to go public has been transpiring in this year, just a few months ago.
Literally. Yeah.
So
literally.
Can you walk me through that process? Because obviously I've never taken anything public.
Sure. I mean, look, I'm learning as I go. I mean, so this is literally how it came to be. We started at a high in 2024, and we made a number of decisions in first quarter that I wish I could go back and change, which I'm happy to unpack, this way the audience can learn from the mistakes that we made as a company. And so we were in a place a few months ago where we were just being scrappy. We were looking for opportunities. We were looking for ways that we could overcome these challenges and stresses and still stay on track towards our big hairy goal, which, as you know, is to do 2 to 3 $100 million plus exits, here in the next several years. I reached out to a friend of mine, and she recommended that I reconnect with a friend from 2021, Chris Galvin. And Chris, him and I were friends and neighbors back in 2021. He has like 30 plus years of experience being a CEO, raising capital, taking businesses public. He really knows his stuff. So I reached out to him and I let him know where we were at and what was going on, what the challenges were in the business. He said that there was an opportunity that he could possibly help us go public and have access to considerable capital. I mean, he uses a very high vocabulary term that I don't even want to try to murder and repeat, but a very, large amount of capital. And so I was like, okay, that would be the answer, to where we're at right now, the challenges we're faced with, and how we can accomplish our big, hairy, audacious goal. Because part of the challenges we've had is buying businesses. It's not easy to buy businesses, either to raise capital or to finance. Like raising capital, we've raised over 8 million. So we've raised a considerable amount of capital since middle of 2022, but it's still not an easy process. It's still turning up the ad spend, making sure our funnel is optimal, making sure our sales team, is doing their job. It's still not easy. And so on top of that too, financing, you need a ton of capital to finance. You can't over leverage financing, meaning that you can't take out several loans very quickly. These loans typically need to be pretty spaced out, basically. And that wasn't going to help us with our goal, because coming into the year, we wanted to acquire one business a month, which didn't happen in 2024. So this way we could buy our way to 100 million. Because originally the goal, which was aggressive, but hey, you know what? If you have an aggressive goal, it's going to push you and it's going to challenge you to make those chess moves faster to win. And so by the end of 2024, we wanted to get to 100 million in our portfolio. And we're not anywhere close to that, unfortunately. Like we're just under 10 million a year when it comes to annual revenue. We're about to double by the end of the year by buying a company. But obviously that's far between where we wanted to be at the end of this year and where we're at today. But the thing is that we found out through this process that you can't finance businesses very easily, and you can't finance multiple businesses at all, really, unless you're a very, very, very big company with a lot of cash, in the bank or on the balance sheet. Obviously, phenomenal credit, which my credit's good, but it's not phenomenal, but it's not, it's not going to blow anybody away. So that's where we were at, and we decided to connect with him, and he went to his partners and pitched us and told his partners about what we do and where we want to go and the challenges that we've had. Then he came back. He was like, you know what? We'll work with you. We'll help you take your business public, and that's how it all happened.
That's awesome. What is because you kind of mentioned the pros of going public. You just have access now to like so much capital and being able to raise and buy companies a lot easier.
Right.
What is a con of going public? Because obviously there's a lot more, legal stuff you have to deal with. You're probably speaking from a fire hose right now, trying to go through this process and learn everything.
I am. I'm learning as I go. Well, you have to go through an audit process, which we're about to start. We haven't started yet. You have to go through an S1 registration process, which I don't even know what that is. I just know that you need to go through that to be able to uplist on one of the stock exchanges, in this case, the NASDAQ. So that's going to be a process, obviously. Right now, we're in the middle of restructuring the business because as a public company, you can't be a limited liability corporation. You can't be an LLC. You have to be a C Corp. And so we're in the process of starting a C Corp, and then we're going to restructure all of our businesses because we have individual entities underneath the parent company. And we're going to move all of our companies underneath that new C Corp. So the reason why we're doing this, like I said before, is just, to have access to a ton of capital, because as a public company, there's family offices, for example, they'll give you a very, very large line of credit against the value of your business, against your stock. We're going to be able to get, we've been told this at least 50 million in a equity line of credit. And that's a game changer. That's being our own bank, being able to go out, find really good businesses that make sense for us to buy. And we have a very rigorous due diligence process. So we're well past all the lessons. So we're not going to dive into this money and make mistakes with it. We have the system in place, the foundation, the team. So yeah, man, that's what we're aiming to achieve once we go public is, get that access to capital and, buy really, really good businesses very consistently.
I love it. And there's so many ways I want to go, but because like I told you, we kind of have a half audience of their 7 to 9 figures scaling up. And then we have also the audience that's just starting out. So what I want to do is pivot for just a second, and then we can dive into some of these more technical questions. When you're starting e-commerce, I'm going to act like, which I am, a very beginner understanding e-commerce, right? So
Yep.
when I hear e-commerce, I'm thinking like drop shipping, create your own clothing brands. I'm thinking of even some of my friends that invested into Amazon, Walmart stores that were drop shipping, and most of them got burned just from my experience and their experience. So walk me through, what does it look like to start, let's say now in 2024, a e-commerce company or a brand?
Yeah, yeah. Those are all definitions of e-com companies, everything that you brought up. And unfortunately, it sounds like you've heard a lot of negative stories. It's because it's not easy starting a business, period. Whether it's e-com or info product or professional services, you name it, it's not easy. Business is not easy. You know that. In response to your question, I mean, e-commerce is, selling something online in general. We're in physical product e-commerce. So we only buy businesses that have actual products that they sell and fulfill on. We avoid drop shipping. Drop shipping is not a good business. You want to be able to control the customer experience. When you don't control the fulfillment shipping process, you don't control the customer experience. You want to be able to create a real brand, a brand that people love, like, and trust. And if they don't get their product fast enough, they're not going to like you and they're not going to trust you. So you definitely, want to skip over like drop shipping. So we're always trying to find established, successful, profitable e-com companies. That's the business that we're in. This way we can then get these businesses, add our secret sauce, our RM5 formula, scale it up, and then be able to, sell it in the future. So that's what e-commerce is to me. When I look at e-commerce, I'm only looking for physical product e-commerce companies right now.
That's such a good distinction. I'm glad you brought that up, because when I think of e-commerce, just from my limited knowledge, I'm just thinking of drop shipping. It's the YouTube ads
Yep.
everyone sees, like, hey,
Yep.
become a millionaire in a year, which that's also in real estate. Become a million in a year through
That
wholesaling.
offer
So
too, that interest, the new business interest, it's such a big market. Like everybody is sold on the dream. I have mentors that I've had in the past. I know, all these high level entrepreneurs that have made hundreds of millions of dollars in that specific industry, that start a business industry. Yeah, it's just crazy. I was just pointing that out. It's just crazy, like how big that market is. But yeah, business isn't easy, and starting a new business, I mean, it requires, you got to do your research. You got to have a good plan. You have to have a good offer, good target audience, good marketing message. Execution has to be there. And even if you execute at a super high level, it may not work, and you just got to stick with it. You just got to keep figuring it out until you start to get that traction.
absolutely. And I would love to learn kind of what you look for when you look to acquire companies. But before that, you keep on mentioning, and that's the name of your company, RM5 Formula. Is
Yep.
there a way we can get a little, behind the scenes breakdown of what that looks like?
Yeah, well, we were a marketing agency for 9 years. During that time, we really identified like a strategy and a process that we could consistently implement that would yield at minimum like a 5-to-1 return at minimum when it comes to advertising. It's not a one-dimensional process, meaning that it's not just ads, for example. Like ads is just the traffic, but where you send that traffic, how you convert that traffic, how you maximize the revenue from that traffic, that all factors in. And so there's actually 9 key systems in the RM5 formula. And these are all fundamental systems to just running a business and running all the marketing in a business. This isn't anything that's like super secret sauce or, some sort of, hack or anything like that. This is literally just doing the fundamentals of digital marketing at a super high level. So this way you maximize your return on your ad spend, not just right away, but over the lifetime of having that customer, because that's key, to be able to really, really scale. And so that's what the RM5 formula is. So it stands for, creating authority in a market, also getting reciprocity from that market by providing value and impact. And reciprocity is getting people to want to give you that value back and do something with you because they feel so indebted to you. And then monetization, that's what M stands for. That's converting them into a paid client customer. And that's also maximizing the revenue that you get from your customers and your clients as well.
So when you're looking to acquire, is there certain industries that you stay in? Like, I think we talked on the phone, you mentioned like health and beauty was one of them.
Yep. Yeah. You stole my line, man. Yeah,
I listen.
you did. Yeah. I appreciate it. So we have a preference for health and beauty. That doesn't mean that we only buy exclusively to health and beauty, but we definitely have a preference for it. But if it's a good business, as long as it's established, it's been around for several years, it's successful, it's doing well, it's way past the point of validation and initial traction. Over the last 12 months, it's been profitable. Overall, they've had maybe a few negative net profit months, but overall they've had a very profitable year. As long as it hits that criteria, we'll consider it. So it doesn't have to be in health and beauty.
And then how do you typically find these companies that you end up acquiring?
Man, there's too many of them, honestly. I wish I had access to this $50 million, line of credit that we're aiming to get right away when we go public, because then we could buy a ton of businesses, because there's so many businesses out there. Right now, it is a buyer's market. I get these opportunities through different marketplaces like Flippa, website closers. Also, my network is pretty vast, just being in the industry for almost 12 years now. So I get deal flow left and right. I get people finding me deals left and right, bringing deals to me left and right, to the point where we have too many opportunities, honestly. So that's how I get my deal flow.
Josh, I'm actually like so excited because all these questions are starting to flow in my head right now.
Yep.
So the companies that are looking to sell, what's one of the main reasons that they're looking to you to acquire?
It could be a partnership issue. One of the businesses we're about to buy has a partner issue, and they want to cut out that partner and amicably move on from the partner. That's part of it when we're trying to buy a business that has a partnership, and typically the partnership is failing on some level. A lot of times owners want to just get out of a business. Maybe it's because they have a partner issue, or maybe it's just because they're just fried and they're done with it and they want to move on to a different goal. They're looking to cash out. There could be something going on in their personal life that's causing them to want to cash out. Maybe they just had a kid, for example. Maybe their wife just stopped working to be able to stay, at home and take care of the kid. For example, that's come up actually several times. So it's typically one of those reasons. It's related to one of those reasons as to why someone wants to sell their business.
And then when you're looking at it, I'm guessing you see a gap where you're like, oh man, this RM5 formula, Josh's, magic sauce can come in and really take this to the next level. What is that gap that you are looking for when you're looking to acquire?
Well, I'm just looking for, how can we plug in and maximize the growth of the business? Does the business have already some good marketing strategies and processes that has led the business to its current level of success? And how do we add in what we can do to the business? And every single time, there's always multiple things that we can do with the business. Sometimes more, sometimes less, to be able to take the business and scale it much faster than the pace that it's been scaling at up to that point.
Is that usually through like marketing, because you guys are specializing in, Facebook ads or, certain type of ad spend? Is that the majority?
We're really good at a lot of aspects of marketing, omni-channel advertising. So, not just Facebook, but, maybe Google, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. Also affiliate marketing, UGC marketing, user-generated content, email marketing, SMS marketing. I mean, literally every form of marketing you could think of, we have in-house, and we do. TikTok Shop, which is a newer, form of marketing. We do it all in-house. So we have a very big team worldwide, just around 30 people. We actually just trimmed a little bit, so this way we can get a little bit more efficient, because part of the impact we have on our businesses is bringing efficiencies. So we're always revisiting that and just making sure that we're staying lean. This way we can maximize profitability. So yeah, we can do it all, man, when it comes to, marketing a business online. Offline, that's different. We would turn to third parties outside of our company for that, but online, we've got it.
Is there any forms of marketing online that you kind of favor? You're like, oh, this is my favorite, or that's kind of underutilized? Like you mentioned TikTok Shop, and maybe that's a newer one that people aren't using, but it actually is really good. Is there any kind of, something you can tell the audience?
The thing is that there's not a favorite, stream of marketing. It just comes down to what you're selling, because, if you're selling a product that appeals to senior citizens, then Facebook is probably it's going to be your favorite channel, because those people are still on Facebook actively. But if you're targeting 18 to 22-year-olds with a product, it's probably going to be TikTok, and Instagram and Snapchat, so it just depends on, your business, what your offer is, and who your market is for your offer as well. And you've got to go through that process to identify that. So I don't have a favorite, to answer your question. I would say, though, to answer your question a little bit more, TikTok Shop is definitely underutilized just because it's new. So it's definitely a great channel to tap into for sure. Amazon also opened up something very similar where you can actually stream on Amazon. So they have they're basically their own social media platform that they just opened up because they want to compete with TikTok, and they don't want TikTok to come in and steal, any of Amazon's, slice of the pie. So Amazon is evolving. They just added a social media channel that's within the Amazon app. And as a seller, you can go on there, you could stream, you could show videos. You can do quite a bit to be able to grab people's attention and get people to buy your product.
Okay, I got to ask you, because there's viral clips going around. And I think there's somewhere in an Asian country where there's like women is putting on dresses and then like showing, like I've seen probably 50 iPhones in the background capturing this, and then they go put on another like outfit. Is this anything to do with this new Amazon thing, or is that different?
Maybe that's yeah, that's a it's a funny form of marketing, that's for sure. You know, but
Well, even like I've seen them kind of like hold up a product and
yep.
then throw it and hold up another product, throw it. It's like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, like this is a different way to market I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be out there, or you got people that do that for you. You know, for organic traffic and just trying to get organic sales, like that definitely could or should be a part of your marketing strategy. But there's other ways to get organic traffic and organic sales. But right now, video is where it's at. I mean, videos everywhere, as you know. So it's definitely very important if you're starting a new business, especially to be all over video.
All right, let's talk about passive income through e-commerce.
Okay.
Well, what does that look like? Because this is something that obviously you guys are specializing in and looking to raise capital for.
Yeah, totally. So for us, it's the profits every month out of our brands. That gives us some profits that we can then distribute to our investors. And then in the future, when we go public, everybody is going to have access to any dividends that we issue. My goal as CEO is to continue to have passive income on a fairly high level and to have at least quarterly dividends. So I'm going to be pushing for that as we go through the process of, taking the business public and then running the company as a public company as well.
And then like the type of investors that typically look at something like this that you're doing, what do those people look like? Like, are they someone that's a high income earner, like a doctor or a lawyer, and they're like, man, I want hands off. I don't want to worry about it. I don't
Right.
want rentals. I don't want, tenants. I want something that's super passive. Are those the type of people, or kind of walk me through that?
Yeah, it's passive. We have some active investors are a little bit more engaged, a little bit more communicative. They add a little bit more value. Maybe they have a background in e-com or business or something similar. But most of our investors are passive. They're looking for passive investment opportunities. So our investment opportunities are for accredited investors, investors that have liquid that they're sitting on, or they have investments underperforming that they want to move cash out of. This way they can participate in what we're doing, which is technically considered private equity. And private equity, can get you very explosive, very fast results. There is more risk. It's the way to go when it comes to at least 5% of your investment portfolio, but maybe even as much as 40% of your investment portfolio. And I say that based on just my own research and different mentors like Dan Fleshman. He promotes 20%. There's been some billionaires that have said that you should have a considerable amount of your investment portfolio in private equity. And so a lot of very rich, very successful people, when it comes to turning their money and making their money work harder for them, are saying that, you need to have minimum 5 all the way up to 40, depending on who it is saying it, percent of your investment portfolio in private equity. So we represent, private equity when it comes to the investment opportunities that we offer. And it's definitely for passive investors and investors that are financially successful, but they want to get their hard-earned capital to work harder for them.
That makes so much sense. I think I even read Tony Robbins' book recently that was
Yep.
talking about like that's the secret that people don't know about.
Yep.
It's the opportunities like what you have that are really able to, not just give you 6% annually.
Right. Yeah, totally, man. And it's sad, when you really think about it, because, society pushes that you should invest in stocks or you should invest in 401ks. And and the companies that people work for are saying like, hey, we've got this 401k program. But honestly, all that's garbage. In my opinion, because like you really don't make that much money per year on your hard-earned cash if you just let it sit in a 401k or if you let it sit in stocks. There's definitely a segment of stocks that are good to invest into, like the top 10, top 20 producing stocks, dividend producing stocks, etc. And just keeping it there, that's fine. That's a good foundation for your investment portfolio, because if you keep it in those stocks, you'll make anywhere between 6% to 10% annually. So it's good for like stability. So a high percentage of your investment portfolio should be in something like that. And real estate is long-term, fine, but it's not the best when it comes to being mobile with your cash. Because if you invest in real estate, I mean, you have way more experience in real estate than I do, but if you invest in real estate, you could be stuck with that house for a while. You may not be able to sell it, or you may have to take a loss at some point if you're not able to continue to make payments on it because, you get hit or the tenant gets hit and you can't find another tenant that could pay the same amount that covers the mortgage, for example. There could be various situations. And then plus on top of that, on average in residential real estate, according to figures that I've researched, you can only make about 7 to 9% annually on your capital in real estate, in residential real estate. Commercial is like 1% higher, which isn't a big difference. So yeah, absolutely, man. This is like, more people need to know about private equity investing and other alternative investment opportunities. Like, I'm really passionate about that. And, that book really reinforces that, The Holy Grail of Investing by Tony Robbins. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a phenomenal book. And we're on a mission to help as many people as we can through what we're doing at RM5 and what we're about to do with our Capital Collective group that we're launching. We want to help as many people as possible get educated on how they can get their hard-earned capital to work harder for them. This way they can live their best life. This way they can build wealth faster. They don't have to struggle, towards the later season of life. They can just live their best life. That's what we're passionate about.
I can already just hear the passion coming out of you talking about this, Josh. And that's why I'm going to ask you right now.
So keep it down.
I'm about to ask you this right now because it's on camera. Are you down to do a part 2 and really talk about alternative investments, private equity, and just what you've learned? Because I would love that.
Totally, man. Yeah. I'd love to do that. I think that it would be great to do that towards the end of the year. We're doing our first live event December 5th through the 7th in San Diego, Capital Collective Live. It's capitalcollective.live. We've brought together some killers in wealth building that really specialize in private equity and other forms of alternative investing. Like I said, we're super passionate about helping the masses learn more about alternative investment opportunities and being able to get their hard-earned capital to work harder for them. And this is just a vehicle to help people do that. So yeah, I'd love to do that, man.
Sounds like I should fly out for that event because that sounds amazing.
You should, man.
I'm gonna have to set up my little podcast studio out there and just, start interviewing some people.
Why
and
not?
Get them some content.
Why not? I mean, it's at Money Studio, which is by Marshall Silver. It's a brand new studio. He's literally just opening it up. We're going to be one of the first events at the studio, and they're going to have like the space for that. So you could, honestly.
That'd be amazing. We'll talk about that. What I want to talk about as we're wrapping up on coming up on the time, you mentioned mentors, you mentioned coaches. How big of an impact has that been in your life?
Without mentors, without experts that I've consulted with and befriended over the years, there's no way I could be where I'm at today. And it's absolutely integral if you want to be very successful. If you just want to create a job for yourself, then you won't take that very seriously. You might have a mentor or two, but you won't have anybody that really, really pushes you and challenges you to reach higher and higher and higher, or someone that can really help you scale your business. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. And you can't just settle for turning your business into a job. So dude, mentors are definitely like something that every entrepreneur needs to take very seriously, because it can make a massive impact to the growth that your business has, the growth that you have personally, and also the goals that you reach as well.
100%, man. And I always say it, and I probably stole it from somebody, mentors or mistakes. Like, that's what it boils down to. So Josh, we met at Arizona Speakeasy Mastermind. Yep. What about masterminds and communities? Because, mentorship and coaching, typically, I have a coach, more of a one-on-one. What's the importance and power that you've seen from being around a mastermind or a community?
Oh, same thing. I mean, mentors and colleagues, and networking, they're all in the same kind of bubble, because when you're around other driven entrepreneurs that are smart, they think differently, they have different experiences than you, that could be a absolute game changer. And it's also such a lonely road, being a business owner and entrepreneur, that you really need to have people around you that you can lean on, that you could turn to, that you could talk to, because when you don't, I mean, all you have is God, which God is, number one. But I mean, you still, God would want you, for example, to network, to lean on other, entrepreneurs as well. So it's super important that you network and you are part of groups, because that can really make a big impact to the journey being easier. It's still gonna be challenging, but it could be easier than doing it all by yourself. But then on top of that too, just the value, the impact, the opportunities, the business opportunities, that all is game changing when it comes to being involved with masterminds and network groups as well.
Love that. Josh, how do people connect with you? Because they're going to hear this and be like, I'm interested, whether it's on the investing side of things or it's, hey, I want to learn more about e-commerce. So what's the best ways that people can reach out to you? But before you tell me, Josh, I want to let you know, our community is a very much a go-giving community, which means if anyone reaches out to you and says, hey, can I pick your brain? They're not part of Growth House and they're not associated with me. We want to provide some kind of value to you. So what's something that could be small, could be, big? What's something that you're looking for, a resource, even like subscribe to your YouTube channel? What's something of value that we can bring to you and then share with us how we can connect with you?
Yeah, totally. Well, for one, connect with me on Instagram, fairly active on Instagram, Josh Scale. Also, if you want to find out more about what we're doing and how you can get involved as an investor, then I would recommend going to RM5Formula.com. You could click on the link in the menu, join our free e-commerce e-commerce investors club private group. It's 100% free. Or, if you want to take further steps, I'd recommend just applying to invest with us and book a Zoom, get all your questions answered, find out more. We'll also send you a video that breaks down what we do and how we help investors at RM5 Formula Company get involved with e-com investing, becoming a passive investor, earning passive income, building wealth with us. We'll send you a video after you apply and also book. You could do that by going to rm5formula.com/apply.
Awesome. And all this is going to be in the show description. I want to get this out here, so it'll probably be next week where we're going to put this out, Josh. So cool. I appreciate you, and we'll definitely stay in touch.
Okay. Sounds good, man. Appreciate it.